towards, you know, expressing and addressing issues as issues and addressing them as persons and making it less about gender. And I mean, I'll say one thing very briefly so that people get a chance to talk. I'm very passionate, as someone who now identifies as non-binary, and so I'm very passionate about gender neutrality, but not imposing gender neutrality on anyone else. So I think some things do, and there was an argument I think in the film, or somebody quoting the film about saying that some of the laws changed during second wave feminism to bring in more gender neutral laws, but only the ones that benefited one side of the equation. And I would argue for increased gender neutrality around issues such as things like suicide and violence, etc., etc., etc. But equally, I don't believe in erasing gender for those people who are happy in their gender expression and identity, and that means let men be men, let women be women, and let people like me be me.
Was your question about the film being adversarial?
It's about how we can move forward, because when men and women come together, children are the result, and that the adversarial nature is not going to help the next generation.
Yes, I absolutely, yeah, I'll rephrase that. So this woman in the front said that when men and women are adversarial together, really what they need to come together for is the production of the next generation, and we need a healthy, happy atmosphere for them to be raised up well, and if there's this gender war, it's not going to be good for our future. Is that kind of, to summarize? Yeah, absolutely. I agree, and I think what comes off adversarial about this conversation about gender politics, and specifically talking about men's issues, and I'll draw from my own experience with my video diaries, I was constantly feeling like whenever men's issues were raised, it was indirectly saying something about women. So if I just said, generally speaking, women are more feeling, men more thinking, does that mean women don't think? Of course not. We both have, you know, we're all different, so I mean, we can't even really summarize and lump everyone together, but just generally speaking, women are more communicative and want to analyze their feelings. And but I was constantly hearing men's issues or hearing from men's rights activists and immediately doing the flip opposite and taking it offensively as a woman. And so I think that's why this whole topic just really makes people uncomfortable. But I also want to recognize that we've been talking about women's issues for decades and have a very strong gender movement called feminism. And that's when I started to wonder, you know, are guys crossing their arms in the room listening to a feminist speaker talk about how men have it so great? Were they feeling attacked? And maybe they were. So to get past the gender war, I think we do need to listen to each other. That's the most important thing. That's the first step. Understanding the issues, listening to each other's experiences, and having compassion for them, regardless of their gender. And going off of what Paul said about men shouldn't get married, I did flinch to that because I'm 6 years into my relationship with my boyfriend, and I do hope to get married because I want children. And for some reason, I hold on to that traditional value that you should be married if you have children, and I'm not saying anyone else should do that or otherwise, but I want to see children thrive, and I come from a divorced family, and it was very difficult, and we do need to come together. And I hope, even though this film makes people uncomfortable, makes people want to write terrible reviews online, please actually go and look up our terrible reviews, because then you'll see how much this film just puts a pinhole in whatever has been going on for the many previous decades of the gender conversation. This film is really being attacked, being censored, being pulled from theaters in Melbourne, Ottawa, petitions in Berlin. It's been really, smear campaigns against me in the film. It's been really fascinating. So I think we're at a shift in history right now. I think something's going to change, a little earthquake to change the foundation, and I think it's good, but it's going to feel uncomfortable at first.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a point about the disadvantaging of men and boys. We have in our manifesto 20 areas. These are 17 of them on on the banner, where the human rights of men and boys are assaulted by the actions and inactions of the state, virtually always to privilege women and girls. Male disadvantage is the other side of the coin to female advantage. And men as a class are starting to get it. It doesn't come naturally to men to think of themselves as a class. It comes very naturally to women, I think, to do that. But men are waking up. And men are getting pretty damn angry at the state, which is just abusing them. And it starts very early for some males, at the age of 8 days old, with male genital mutilation, which is illegal. And we hear about FGM all the time. We don't hear about MGM. It's illegal, the state does nothing about it. And, sorry, you're shaking your head. And, sorry, I'm not... Okay, but I just want to make the point, I want to make the point, we had a conference in London, people travelled from 20 countries, and one of the best received talks was by Tim Hammond, a Californian, and the global survey of infant circumcision harm, and it is just vile what the state allows there. And I noticed right at the end when there were just a few seconds of a circumcision, in front there were 2 or 3 ladies in front, and they sort of, oh my God, and you know, until you actually see what the hell that is, you know, words like the snip, it's just that brings down the red clouds. So I'll probably better end my comments here.
How the conversation is adversarial.
Look at marriage. People get married, they get infatuated, they come together and they get married, and then the power struggles come. And most married couples go through power struggles for year after year after year. As a matter of fact, one might argue that the only thing that has ever really held most marriages together is social and legal pressure to keep them together. Because men and women, after the chemicals of infatuation wear off, butt heads. They're two different people from two different family systems that bring in different rules, different experiences, different expectations, different desires, different ideas of what a marriage should be, different ideas of what each person should be to each other, and then they spend the next 10 or 15 years beating the crap out of each other, each trying to get their own way. And the ones that make it get through those struggles and end up listening to each other and making compromises with each other and sacrificing some of what they want in order to make another person happy, and having another person sacrifice some of what they want to make each other happy. But inherent to this whole proposition is that you have to have the issues on the table. The problem, to answer your question, for men and women to go forward together, we have to have all the problems on the table, all of them. Not, I mean, you're looking at a movie that's a product of the very beginning of even acknowledging that there's two sides to this story. And so to move forward, it only makes sense to me is that you have to have both sides of this equation cognizant of the issues, aware of how those issues impact the other side, and compassionate enough to have each other's back, to know that we have to address these issues. If we're going to move forward together, how could we move forward otherwise? We couldn't possibly. And so we've got some power struggles ahead of us. We've got some beating our heads against the wall. We've got a lot of bloodiness. But again, I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. It may not happen in my lifetime, probably won't. I'm going to be 60 in 2 weeks. I'll probably be long gone before this ever comes to fruition. But I feel real proud tonight that I'm part of a possibility. That there are people with different views sitting around this table without tearing each other's face off, without denying each other's pain, each other's problems, and in an atmosphere that even if we don't agree, of some relative acceptance. And if you want to look at what models successful marriages, that's it. That's what happens. And nothing else works. That's my answer.
I think eventually it'll be a truth and reconciliation brought about between men and women. And I do think if we can't love each other, then there's no hope for civilization.
I'll always love you, Aaron.
If I may just add my slightly different perspective to this, the moral philosopher Jonathan Haidt also has something to say about this exact question, how divisive and how, what was the word you used? Combative, adversarial, the discussion has become. And a lot of it is in his book, The Righteous Mind. Essentially it's about how two people who are good people and who want the best for everyone can look at the same evidence and come to completely opposing perspectives. It's nothing to do with them being wrong, it's nothing to do with their ability to interpret information. It has to do with how they interpret information. And there are some good psychological reasons for that. So I think the adversarialness of what we're seeing, and for all of the reasons that the panelists have explained, has to do with that fundamental conflict between the way different people interpret the same information. Barry, do we have any more time, or are we out? We're out. Thank you very much indeed.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're really out.
Oh, yes.
We've got 20 minutes left. No, 10 minutes.
The lady at the top is collecting donations towards this event. Any donations that you can spare would be much appreciated. Our host, Barry, has gone to great lengths to make this possible. So, thank you, Barry.